Hello everyone. So this is my second attempt at making this video because the first one, of course, did not record any audio. And it's just kind of funny, ironic, and fitting considering that every time I do a video on coronavirus now something happens and it just doesn't seem to work. It's like the opposite of synchronicity, where synchronicity is working for you. It's like there's something that just doesn't want this to happen. But anyways, I'm getting through it. This is also the third video recording software I've had to switch to within the last month. It just seems like impossible to make these videos and just keep running into these problems. Very interesting, and specifically around coronavirus videos, they always something weird happens. I think the video right now is actually acting a little weird on my screen. That's showing me how it's recording, so it's still kind of strange on my part. So we'll see how it turns out with the final. I hope I don't have to do this again. Okay, so I'm just going to get into it. So this morning or last night, I woke up in the middle of the night and I didn't really go back to sleep. In fact, I stayed up, and instead of just doing whatever, I ended up just laying in bed the whole time, grounding and meditating, and I decided to hone in on coronavirus and do a little bit more of a reading on coronavirus. There have been some other times I have done that in the past, and I thought about making a video about it, but I was kind of afraid to because it's so controversial. I didn't want to, say something too controversial. The other thing is the way I've been trained with my teachers and schooling for psychic stuff. I guess you could call it psychic stuff. I was always told, don't make predictions. That was just how we were trained. That was our style, which I'm glad for because there's a lot of benefits to that. I guess another reason is because there are multiple futures. It's not like a future is set in stone. For example, Nostradamus, he made a lot of predictions, and he made a prediction like there's one timeline going up here, there's another timeline going down there, there's another one going down below, and it's like these are all possible timelines, but not one of them even necessarily has to happen. He's saying if we go this way, this is more likely to happen. If we go that way than that. And the whole point was to show us potential futures, and the whole reason for that was so that we change the future, so that we wouldn't have to go through those things. And so the whole point of him predicting it was to prevent it from happening. So my point here is that the future, it's not set in stone. The future is not set in stone. And so you can make a prediction, and then the energies shift, the dynamics change, and then that future prediction is no longer happening. So, there's a lot of potential for things like that with future predictions. I don't really need to explain that too much more, but I've come to this conclusion where I'm just like, screw it, like all the stuff I've been holding back, all the stuff I have not been saying, now I'm just going to come out and say it all. And it's like, whatever. So, I don't really care if these happen to not be entirely true or whatever, Either way, I'm just going to say what I see. So, first of all, I see the coronavirus. When I was looking into it, psychically tuning in, I was kind of seeing the coronavirus spirit, like communicating with the spirit of it, if you want to interpret it that way. And the way I was seeing it was as a baby. So it's still a child in its development, and it has a ways to go. I don't think it's going to completely vanish from the earth before my death. I think throughout my entire lifetime it will still be here. It's going to be around for a while. It's still a baby. And I saw it playing with these toys, where it's like baby toys, where you have a pole and you stack these little like tubes that go around it, get smaller as they go, and it was working on the last one or so. So it's getting to the very top. It's like to the top of that, like we're reaching the peak. We're getting close to the peak, but there's all these other toys. There's like 5 or 7 of them, and these are like not necessarily like epidemics, but they're like things that could happen in the future. Um, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm just letting you know what I saw. So I see things through symbols that can be literal or symbolic. So sometimes I don't know if it's a literal thing or if it's a symbol. And so the other thing is I don't necessarily always know how to interpret these things. So that's just what I saw. So you can make of that what you will. I'm just putting it out there today. I don't really care if it's what it sounds like. That's where my intention is today. So the other thing I saw was how I'm seeing it as right now it's starting to decline, theoretically at least that's what people are saying, but I'm seeing it having a large spike, like going way up, like in the near future, and then from there going way back down. So it's like we're like getting there, we're getting there, we're getting kind of up and down, and then I just see it going like a big spike, and then like it goes straight down, like right after that. But it doesn't go straight down. It still kind of flows out a little bit and keeps going for a while, and it's still just kind of there, like in the background for a while. But as far as the epidemic, pandemic, it should be, you know, the pandemic aspect of it won't really be there anymore. I specifically saw, what was it, June? Yeah, June, which is like 2 months from now, as being a time likely to have new developments in technology, such as maybe a drug, maybe even a vaccine. I don't know, but I think it's more related to drugs or just the treatment in general. Some sort of technological new finding that will help take away like 75% of the deaths. So the death rate should be like a quarter of what it was with that new treatment being applied. So that's what was coming up for me sometime around June. So we'll see what happens. You know, I'm not promising that it will. That's what came up for me. So I'm just putting it out there. Um, let's see, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, so the other very controversial thing that I have been not wanting to say is that I was seeing how the coronavirus came into being, and I was seeing it as a scientist, a guy who was playing with it and creating it somewhat in a lab. I wasn't specifically seeing a lab, but I was seeing that it was man-made on some level. However, that can be contradictory because I also saw a picture of a frog and a chimpanzee or some type of gorilla, and it bouncing back and forth between them. Like, I would interpret that to mean mutating, but again, I don't know like exactly how to interpret this. Like a frog and a chimpanzee, I don't know if that's literal or like I don't really know exactly what that means. So I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. Um, and so it's like, does it come from a lab or does it come from nature? Well, the way I'm seeing it is potentially kind of both, like at the same time, you know? Like you can have that. That can happen. I'm seeing that he got infected with this um, virus unknowing, didn't know it at all whatsoever. And then it just kind of spread to other people. He didn't even know that he did it. And then all of a sudden I saw it as like a earthquake. Everything was like, and like, it was like everybody all of a sudden has it. And this guy's like, oh crap, did I do that? Is that for me? Like, he like doesn't even know. I see China being very confused as a country, politically, being like what's going on? Though I am seeing that it was created comes from a person, man-made on some level. What else do I want to say here? I've already said this in other videos, but I just want to say it again because it's important, which is that this is very much so associated with nature and like things having to break down. For example, the way that all this came to me was I was sleeping and then I woke up, which was annoying, and it kind of actually pissed me off. But now looking back, I see it as a blessing because it's like the system that I was in kind of had to break down so that I had that space and I had that time to really look into this myself for that introspection. And I'm really seeing that as part of the reason why humanity has allowed this to happen. Because I think even bad things happen for a reason. And you can relate this to like any sports, there's always something you have to overcome. Like I think a good way of looking at it is a video game. Now, let's say you turn on a video game and it's just like you press A like 5 times and you win. It's pretty boring. If you don't die in a video game, if your character doesn't die in a video game at least once by the end of the entire video game, it doesn't sound like it's very challenging, and it doesn't sound like, probably didn't really enjoy it that much. The video games that I've played the most, I mean, I guess I'm a Zelda fan. I died so many times, and that's the fun of it, is the challenge. And so my point here is that bad things suck, but there's a reason for them. And the reason for this horrible thing going on in the world is this introspection. And obviously, I don't even need to say that. Everybody already kind of knows that. But that is coming up for me a lot within my reading of it. And that this has a lot to do with nature. I also saw some other stuff. I have some stuff written down that I feel kind of weird about reading through, but I'm just going to read through it anyways. And this is stuff from a previous reading I had done like maybe a week or two ago. And I just wrote down some notes. So I'm going to go ahead and read through it. China and Indonesia came up when looking at why the US has almost 1/4 of the whole world's death rate numbers. And that's true that out of the entire world, the United States has 1/4 of the death rate. That's a lot. America is pretty large as well, though. So, yeah. I wrote, has to do with business and the higher class and businesses corruption falling apart within the U.S. Poor people, this doesn't seem to be ruining their lives as much, although I also see it as benefiting the upper class. But it's like kind of like there's almost like a conspiracy of sorts between the super elite rich and the moderate wealthy people, and it crushing the moderate wealthy people and just destroying their lives the most. So I'm saying it. So I wrote, poor people, this doesn't seem to be ruining their lives as much. And that came up for me. But as well as the super rich, it's obviously not ruining their lives either. Corporations are dropping their stocks, which is also coming up. Ultimately, when I tried to understand it, it is about corruption and the energy of murdering people and stealing their money within the US. In other words, cold-heartedness and mobster energy. Again, that's kind of could be literal, but also metaphor or symbolic, kind of like the energy, the vibration is more what I'm getting at. Profit is the biggest concern within America. That's kind of what this is clearing out. There's also something looming in the future about Europe and death over there, or something about them affecting us here, which could be tied to US, European corruption. And that's me kind of speculating about something that I saw, which was a ship coming up to the border of the US and kind of like running into it, and like dead people falling off, and this being a ship from Europe. And this was a vision that I saw. It's not literal at all. Um, and I don't know exactly what to make of it, but I'm just throwing it out there because it showed up. Um, I wrote, government not helping people even though they could, but it would make them have to change a little, and that isn't worth it for them. Yeah. The virus shocks people into a silent mind, and clarity comes through eventually from it after it goes by. And that's one of the benefits. Things are easier to see for what they are, like a sense of clarity, a sense of clearing out all the bullshit, basically, is what's going on. I wrote, Upper Africa, Middle East, and Eastern countries are helping create the issue in US through economy, allowing things to fall apart without doing anything to help, turning back on US in some way. US is doing the same to South Africa, and I added possibly Argentina because in my previous readings I had seen Argentina come up, and that could be like something just like not being right with them. And when I looked it up on the news afterwards, I found out that they do have a very low amount of money coming in, and the US has like recently, like within, I don't know, the last 5 years or something, cut off money that they're giving to them, which actually showed up in this reading. And yeah, they may have some serious problems in the future. They may be already experiencing it at this point. Donald Trump wants to be seen as underestimating it and have others seem as overestimating it to create a divide to confuse people so no one knows that it is somewhere in between both extremes. This this is something also, Donald Trump is over exaggerating a lot, but a lot of the news also over exaggerates him and makes him look bad in ways that are, not really fair to him on some level, even though it's funny. It's like the things where he should be called out are not really being focused on, and instead they're like just like making him look ridiculous over these other things that are like not really what we should be focusing, at least on, in my opinion. That's all. Anyways, I'm not trying to get into that. So the super rich can take advantage of the economy, and Donald Trump is showing up along with that. Also being able to attack Middle Eastern countries that are smaller and easier to do so during the chaos, while it just blends into the chaos already at hand and is not noticed or able to bounce back. I have actually seen that going on in the news too, with, I think it was it Iran or Syria? I don't know. One of those countries, they're just like attacking them when they're suffering from the virus. It's kind of not right because they're all starving to death and all that on top. It's just like killing everyone. It's just a lot of innocent people. Donald Trump is nervous about foreign affairs and all the sneaky stuff he is doing during the crisis, but not as nervous about being caught as he is about how it will change the world that he will miss. It's like he is saying goodbye to part of his childhood as things blow up as a comparison to the emotions felt. So that's like how he feels about it. It's like he doesn't want to go along with his plan now that the perfect opportunity has come, and he is feeling remorse about breaking some ethics and crossing a line of some sort in his mind. And I definitely get that there is like, some sort of force behind Donald Trump. Did I skip a part? Oh, I think I skipped a part, so I'll go back. Donald Trump having hard time letting go of something. He's bothered by what he has to do, and that is to do nothing and let a disaster happen. There are strong forces above him telling him to forget about it, and it's like he is watching a city he loved be destroyed, and he isn't allowed to do anything from the forces he works for that want to control the economy and have some sort of merging with China economically, which involves some sort of self-sacrifice in the US. And so that was a big thing. I was seeing a lot of foreign players with the countries, and somehow the economy really being tied into all of this politically during that reading. So that was an interesting reading, one that I wasn't really sure if I should share, but I just decided, what the hell, I'll just share it. Whatever. There's some other stuff I want to include, which is when I was reading for someone else in particular, something came up about what they should eat, and that was greens. Lots of greens, like sauteed greens. That could be spinach or kale or whatever greens, like salad. Or I've been sauteing a lot of greens up and eating them. I was really seeing that as being a big thing, and then later I found out that there's a lot of vitamin A, I believe it is, that's in them. I could be wrong. I think it's vitamin A that's in them that is supposed to help with the cells' barrier to make them stronger, so the virus can't penetrate into the cells as easy. And so that's the science that seemed to be associated with that. But anyways, I was seeing greens coming up for someone in particular, and I think that applies to everyone too. Or yeah, I'd say that should apply to everyone as well. The other thing is vitamin C, which everybody already knows. That was also showing up. Something else that showed up was pineapple and fruits like that. So maybe you want to include some of that in your diet. I don't know. That's what came up though. The other thing I just want to include, and this is just my own personal opinion, but I have taken a lot of alternative medicine courses from professional clinicians, and what I've found is the one thing that people seem to not be talking about is vitamin D. And you can take very, very high doses of vitamin D and have amazing benefits. That will drastically increase your immune system. It also is antimicrobial on a very, very strong level. Vitamin D is the most common deficiency in America, and I think in the whole world as well. I'm pretty sure. The second after that would be magnesium, but vitamin D is very important for your immune system. The other thing is vitamin C, as people already know, hopefully. You can always like this video and subscribe, and if you do subscribe, make sure that not only you click the bell if you want notifications next to the subscribe button, but you click on the bell and you go to all notifications, because a lot of the times you'll click on notifications and it will only notify you of some things because that's the auto setting. But if you click all, then it will notify you of all the videos that I post from this YouTube channel. And if you're like me, you probably don't want those to be emailing you in your email. So if you turn off email notifications, then you can get then you can be notified when you go to YouTube only, and it will show up on a little thing you can click, and it will come down with all the things that you have signed up to be notified for kind of like the channels that you want to watch, and so it's helpful. So yeah, do that if you like. I also have private readings. You can find more psychictie.yolasite.com. I'll leave more information down below this video. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.